Test, 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 test. All right. I think you guys can hear me now. I'm sorry. Somebody give me a thumbs up or let me know that you can hear me. I believe it's working. Before I keep talking, somebody leave a comment and say if you can hear me or not. All right, good to go. All right, sorry about that. I apologize. That's about that's about a 50% chance when I come on here that we're not going to be able to hear. Well, let me say what I said before. I said typically I get on here and I do these live Q&As, and those have gone well in the past. It's typically for about an hour. I may have 50 minutes or so today. But one of the things, and I want you guys to go ahead and leave any questions you have on the right side about lawn care business, whatever. And we'll try to get to those as well. But what I was going to do today, I've got 5 tips that I wanted to share about lawn care business. And I've been in lawn care business for quite a while, both mowing and weed control and fertilization. And, when you do something for a while, you just get stories and things that shape how you run your business. So I thought I'd share these. And again, we can take some questions in the midst of me sharing. What I also want to talk about briefly is just the sponsors that support my channel. The 2 regular sponsors I have are Yard Book, which is the software I've been using since 2015, and Graham Spray Equipment. So if you need a spray rig, please consider Graham. They're over in Douglasville, Georgia. They do ship, but if you're in the Southeast, it's worth the drive if you're looking to get in weed control and fertilization. All right, so 5 tips here, and I just kind of made a few notes, and I thought, you know what, instead of just doing a video, which I might do that as well, like a more formal video, I thought I'm just going to go live, and we'll just talk about it on the air. And some of these, are typically revolve around a story and things that happened to me. So recently I had a situation where I had a difficult situation with a customer, and the tip here, tip number 1 is as soon as you figure out that a customer is not a fit, as quickly as possible, I guess, if you're able to separate yourself from that customer, then the better. I think it is a long shot typically that you're going to be able to bring things back together. Like you have an expectation of what this customer should be like. The customer has an expectation of what their lawn care provider should be like. And if once you figure out that there's a sizable gap in between those 2 things, then you need to move on. Well, you need to try to collect your money and then move on. Okay, so, and that happens. It's okay. It's not a big deal. But I think sometimes I personally might overestimate my ability to win them over and bring them back to reasonableness. And it's a lot of times you end up wasting time and effort. So here's a story from recently. I do weed control and fertilization, and what I was doing, I don't get a lot of calls after, let's say, May as far as new customers. Most of the new customers sign up. So I start getting calls in February, March, April, and May, probably the 3 biggest months for me getting new customers. Well, anyway, I get a call in the middle of summer, and usually when that happens, it's somebody just moved into town, or maybe they're just, whatever reason, unhappy with who they were using. So I get a call, and I have a very selective area which I work. And the customer says, hey, can you come over and give a quote? So I go look at the yard. It's in a neighborhood. It's real close to my house. I'm already got quite a few yards in that neighborhood. I go over there, and it's a very nice house, probably $500,000 to $600,000 house, which is pretty expensive in our area. Maybe not in parts of California. So, but here that is a very nice house, and the landscaping is like really nice. You can tell somebody spent some money on this landscaping. And a lot of things about it just say these people want things done great. Well, that's fine. I mean, it actually wasn't that much grass. So I think, okay, that's fine. So I measured the yard, talked to him on the phone. He gave him the price. He agrees to the price, which wasn't that much money because it wasn't that much grass. And everything's good to go. And so I come home. I put him in the software Yard Book. I put him on my schedule. And he told me, he said, hey, I tell people, I say, hey, do you need me to notify you before I come, or is it okay if I just come? I said, there'll be a yard sign in the yard when I'm done spraying. But if you don't need me to notify you, then we'll just come spray and we'll put the yard sign out. He's like, yeah, if you don't mind, just notify me the first time. He said, after that will be good. Well, again, this was a couple months ago. Well, I look on my schedule when I was recently out there, and I have a in by his name, which means notify for first time. So I call him. No, actually, I'm sorry. I text him the night before. Text him and say, hey, this is Jason with Alabama Lawn Pros. Just letting you know, going to be out to spray the yard tomorrow. That kind of thing. Very common thing that I do for the people that request it. Well, no reply, which I didn't take as a big deal. I'm thinking surely he got it. So he don't necessarily have to say okay or anything. I'm just simply letting him know. So I go out there the next day in the afternoon. It's like 1:50 or so. I get to his house and I start spraying the yard, put the sign in the yard, start spraying the yard and get finished spraying the yard. I get back in my truck. Again, this is probably 15 hours after I text him. Get back in my truck. I have a message on my phone that says, we actually hired a different company that's going to take care of everything. The bush, the shrubs, the mowing, spraying, everything. And we no longer we don't need you to come by after all. Well, I'm thinking, well, that would have been great. Any of the previous 15 hours would have been great to let me know that it's not a big deal. I mean, I'm not really worried about losing one customer. And I'm totally happy if he found somebody that wants to do everything for him. But, and so I'm getting to thinking, I was like, was it a coincidence that he happened to text me the moment I was at his yard? I'm out spraying, I get back in my truck, look at the phone, I got a message. And I'm thinking, no, actually, I don't think that was a coincidence. Actually, I think he probably saw me in the doorbell cam, okay? Ring cam, whatever, sees me, texts me, knows I'm probably spraying the yard. And so I call him. I call him right back. I said, hey, that's fine. I understand you found somebody. No big deal. I said, I didn't get your message. I already sprayed the yard. If you don't, I would love to be paid for today's service since I didn't get the message till after stuff. At that point, he gets a little defensive, which I have no idea why. All I'm simply doing is that you had 15 hours to let me know before I spray the yard. Now I'm actually sprayed the yard, so I expect to be paid. He's like, well, did you ring the doorbell when you got there? And I was like, no, I didn't ring the doorbell when I got there. That's not typically what we do is ring the doorbell on every yard. We get out there, and he said, well, we asked everybody to ring the doorbell. He said, we don't just have people come up and start spraying chemicals on our yard without ringing the doorbell. He said, my wife's probably home. The garage door was probably open. And so anyway, I said, well, I said, I didn't ring the doorbell. Nobody came out and stopped me. I was hired to do this. I'm sitting there thinking in my mind, I'm not always calm in these situations, but I'm thinking, spraying chemical. You hired me to spray chemicals. Okay. I spray water, but I mean, I didn't tell you this, but I'm like, that is exactly what you hired me to do, is to come spray chemicals. It's not like I'm some random person that just showed up to spray random chemicals on some random yard. I'm the exact person you hired to spray that exact yard, these specific chemicals to control the specific weeds of your yard. That's more accurate. Anyway, so I didn't say all that, but that's kind of going through my mind. At this point, I'm just thinking, he's not reasonable. I just want to get my money and get him off the schedule and move on. And so he said, are you still in the neighborhood? I said, yeah, I'm still in the neighborhood. He said, well, if you turn around, I'm sure my wife's home. You could go and she'll give you a check. I said, okay. I just try and get him off the phone. So I turn around. Well, guess what? His wife wasn't home. His wife the garage door was not open. The car was not in the garage. So all that stuff wasn't true either. She had actually just pulled up by the time I got right back. And of course, he calls her and explains. She rolls the window. I said, hey, I'm the lawn guy that, your husband said he hired me. Now he says he don't need me. Whatever. I'm just trying to get paid for today's service. Just letting you know, it would be great if the new company doesn't come behind me and spray again. That would not be healthy for your lawn. Anyway, she was fairly reasonable and wrote me a check and got collected all that. But I got to thinking about it. It's like when you meet a person and let's say that you find them and they've got their hand in the cookie jar, okay, and you say, hey, it looks like you might have got your hand and you were taking a cookie. He said, no, I wasn't taking a cookie. The cookie jar was trying to eat my hand, And when you find out somebody like that who won't humble themselves to admit that, you know what, this guy's just actually doing exactly what I hired him to do. And he texted me the night before to let me know he's coming. So I think, and I didn't cancel with him until he'd after sprayed the yard. And the only reason I did then was because I saw him on the doorbell. Anyway, point being, because tip number one, and the others probably won't be this long, but once you figure out the customer is not a reasonable person, then move on. And I think I'm very happy that we're no longer business relationship here with this particular customers, and I got my money, so I was happy about that too. All right, as I said before, you guys feel free to leave a question over here, and I can answer whatever questions you have. All right, I'll try at least. All right, tip number 2 on as far as just lawn care tips, and I was thinking about this. People say stuff like this all the time, but I think I'll simplify it like this, saying let numbers control your pricing and not other factors such as the competition, such as what the previous customer, what the customer was paying to a previous person, or what the customer thinks you ought to be paid, or the thing is, you look at, let's take grocery stores, for example, or restaurants. There's some restaurants that serve $8 meals, or heck, some of them serve $5 meals, and are used to, at least, and make a lot of money. And then some restaurants serve $30 meals and go bankrupt. They can't make it at $30. It's just like, it's not enough. We couldn't make it. We weren't charging enough. So lawn care is not going to have that much variation, but the point being, depending on your numbers in your business, you may be very profitable at a certain price range that another company could not operate at all. Now, do you want to sell yourself short? No, I don't think you should sell yourself short. You think, well, I'll just get out there and work by myself, 70 hours a week. I can do it for $30 and make money because I'm just going to work. I'm going to outwork everybody. That's probably not a great strategy. Matter of fact, I feel real confident that's not a great strategy. But just because somebody else charges a certain rate. So let me think of examples here. When I go into a neighborhood, for instance, yesterday, I had a guy come out, and this just came to my head. I was spraying this one yard in a particular neighborhood. I got a whole bunch of yards. And the neighbor comes over and says, how much to do my yard? He had a competitor spraying his yard. I gave him a price. And he told me what the other company was doing it for. And my price was a little bit lower. Well, I mean, sure, I would love to got what the other company was getting, but I would be perfectly happy to do it for the price I gave him, because look, it's a tiny yard. I'm already doing the next door neighbor's yard. I mean, it would be so simple. I literally could probably spray his whole yard in, I'm going to say 3 minutes, and I'm already there doing the neighbor's yard. So where another company might have an employee that they've got to send from 30 miles away in an area they're not very established in a neighborhood they have almost no customers in, to come over and spray that one yard, then there's no way, even at a 15% higher price than what I charge, that they're going to make as much money as me. I mean, and the same could be true opposite, so when you ever be able to talk about, route density and all this other stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of factors that make you profitable. And let's talk about from the customer standpoint, it doesn't matter what the customer thinks you should charge them, or whatever so-and-so's charged me $50 and you're charging me $60. Who cares? Who cares what the other company's charging? If 60 is what you need, or what you can get from some other yard that's right down the street, and you get that all day, then and your schedule's almost full, and why would you take on a $50 yard when you can get 60 all day long? So just anyway, just you got to keep control, and you got to understand the numbers, and don't get bullied by customers or competitors. And again, sometimes that may mean your price needs to be higher. Sometimes that means your price can be lower and you're still very profitable. So anyway, that's my thought on that. Let's take a question here. Bowman's Homestead says, what do you do in the winter for income? Well, I think for me, it's one of the reasons I'm full-time weed control and fertilization now. So I live in Alabama, and it's literally year-round. So our weed control never stops, and that's good for me. So it's a huge advantage, especially if you start hiring employees. You can keep them year-round. But for the mowing people, I mean, obviously, ones that live further north, they may can get into snow plow, and that's not really a realistic option in Alabama. A lot of people around here, they'll do a few things. They'll either try to get some 12-month contracts, like a lot of the commercial contracts are 12 months. So even in the winter, they're going by once a month and just blowing things off, and maybe even running over the yard, sucking up some leaves, putting mulch out early in the year. I mean, they're doing something to add value to the property, and they've got it worked out where it's 12 months out of the year. And I've even heard in those situations that the wintertime is often the more profitable time, because you're mowing it weekly all summer long. And then in the winter, you're getting paid the same to go out there once a month and barely, just kind of blow things off and make it look presentable. So that's one thing people do. They also, get into landscape and things like that. Again, that's here in the South where it's warm enough to do that. But that's one big advantage of the weed control, in my opinion, where I'm at, because it is year round. If the customer doesn't like your price, they're not the customer for you. I like that too. And I think we got to be careful. You got to get comfortable being okay losing customers. And this would go even on increasing price. You say, well, I'm going to increase my prices by 7%. And, you may lose 1% of your customers. You're probably not going to lose 7% of your customers. So you're probably going to actually come out better in the long run, financially, doing less work for more money. But some people just have a paranoia about losing any customer. If I just lose any customer, it's just, and it used to bother me a lot worse than it does now. I still don't like it. I'm not trying to lose customers, but you got to be okay. Some customers are not a fit for you, and that's just okay. He says, awesome. We live in Southwest Missouri, cut firewood in the winter. It's our third year, and we have tripled what we did our first year. That's great. Yeah, I tried firewood one time a long time ago, about worked myself to death, but I'm sure you guys, I would imagine, have a lot better system than I did. So I'm glad to hear that. All right, so we've done 2 tips. One, as soon as the customer is not a fit, you separate quick as you can, try to get your money and get out of there, and move on in a polite way if you can. And next is let your numbers control your pricing, not your competitors or your customers. Third one, this is one I'm kind of struggling with, to be honest with you. I'd like to hear if you guys have any thoughts on this, but this idea of work-life balance, to me, is one of the biggest challenges in lawn care. I think a lot of people, now obviously when you start out, you just need to try to make money. You're just trying to get customers. But a lot of people, once they get established, they've got more work than they can handle, and they start getting burned out. They start working all the time, and your work-life balance is just way out of whack. Well, this is difficult in some ways, because sometimes the people that make good small business owners and lawn care business owners, they have a hard work ethic. They want to work, and they don't mind working. And that's great, but sometimes it's like they don't know when to stop working, because they think, if I work more, I can make more money. And so I'm just going to keep working. So anyway, for me, I downsized my business a few years ago now, and that was a good thing. It allowed me to tighten up my route to where I'm now more profitable with the customers I have. But I was working just a lot, probably 6 days a week, and trying to do YouTube on the side, where now I shrunk my customer base down. Feel like I've got more profitable customers, and it allows me time to do YouTube and things like that I enjoy doing. It gives me a little break. Well, but even with that, it's not that simple, because let's say sometimes if I'm out spraying yard, let's say it takes me 3 to 4 weeks spray all my yards. And so I got it for 3 or 4 weeks. I'm just busting it, trying to get them all done and spraying, and come home, I'm tired, and I don't have energy to spend with my kids, and my legs hurt, my feet hurt from walking a lot, depending on what I'm doing. If it's hot, it's like, it's so hot out there. And then I might have 3 weeks off where I need to work on YouTube and online stuff, and I'm not motivated to do that. I'm like, I don't want to do that, and so you end up kind of, since wasting some time doing that. And so I've tried even now to I tell you what, let's do this. If I can get out there at 8:30, let's say, and start spraying yards. And from 8:30 to 2 o'clock, I'm just throwing it out there. It's not always realistic. Then I want to just get after it. And if I can I might knock 20 yards out, and then I can go home and work on the internet for an hour or two if I have time or energy, or maybe I need to go do some family thing. But anyway, it's just trying to give a little bit more balance. And it's challenging because even then, I'm thinking, well, if I could do more YouTube videos or more of this or more lawns or take on, I don't want to turn down business for my business. Anyway, I would love to hear from you guys if somebody wants to throw something out about work-life balance, because I found that to be a big challenge personally, because I don't want to just have the greatest lawn business of all time to the neglect of everything else in life. It's not, I enjoy it. I think it's great business, but it's not everything that I'm about. And it's not ultimately super fulfilling, even if you make millions of dollars. It means but you didn't do anything else but lawns for 20 straight years, So anyway, I'm trying to work that out. I've got 4 kids, and it can be a challenge. So that's one thought. Let me look at the comments over here. I'm mainly an auto detailer, but the area is oversaturated with mobile guys and shops. What are some viable tools for a good startup? Trying to think. Now, I'm not an auto detailer, but if I was, I remember going to my accountant a few years ago, and this big accounting firm. You think about accountants, they sit in the office all day. They make a good salary typically. And this auto detailer would pull up at the accounting shop, and he had like a regular appointment with those people. And so you start building connections like that. So for me, with lawn care, one of the things I did, and this may be applicable to some ways, when I first moved to where I'm at now, I had 0 customers. And I started calling. I was doing weed control fertilization. So I started calling on the mowing people in my area, saying, hey, do you have anybody you recommend for weed control and fertilization? If not, I would love to be the company that you recommend. And over time, I have quite a few of those guys that now send me business. So I think to me, it would be starting to build those relationships with who can send you the referrals, and obviously building the online, even like starting the Instagram and YouTube. Maybe that doesn't pay off right away, but you become the auto detailer guy in your area that has some just great, 15-second Instagram reels on there. They're awesome, get attention, and you'd be surprised what opportunities might open up from that. So much work, he says. Yeah, there is a lot of work. Who should I use for pesticide applicator liability insurance? I just have a local guy that covers me. I'm trying to think. There is a company that reached out to me. I've seen them advertised lately. It's called Next, N-E-X-T. Now, I don't know if they cover that or not. I have actually a relative who's an insurance broker, and be honest, I can't even remember the company he's with. But anyway, I would just ask specific questions like, is it going to cover, if we damage somebody's lawn, is it going to cover that? Also want to offer weed control and fert options as well. I think that was the car dealer guy. Yeah. So it might be challenging to get both of those going at the same time. My personal opinion would be try to be excellent in one, and then once you could do that, add the other one. And maybe you already are established in the auto detail. I'm not sure. Anyway, when I started mowing and spraying, it was hard to do both. Eventually, you just need extra people. Being a business owner is a tough juggling act. I do believe scheduling the business according to how you want to live your life is a great way. I like that. That's a great tip. You're saying schedule your business around the way you want to live your life. So, great example. If you say, we're going to take a family vacation every year. And so you just put it down and you make it happen. Okay. Because if you just schedule that you're going to work 6 days a week all year round and never have a day off and pretend like it's never going to rain, you're never going to get behind schedule. I mean, that's just not realistic, and you're going to work yourself out. This guy says there's no bounds. The sun's out, guns out. Well, that works for a while, but I don't know about that. Bro, we need a video how to get my Ryobi grass trimmer stop tangling the line. Yeah, some of them. Well, I've taken the guard off my trimmers but people get all worked up over that. So do that at your own risk. But I don't know if your Ryobi gas trimmer may not have enough power, and that might be part of the problem. Just curious. Can you really get fined for spraying weed killer and making money without being surveyed? Yes, you can. Definitely. So they might give you a warning. I don't know where you live, but they certainly can. All right. The fourth tip here is to differentiate yourself. So I was talking to somebody the other day, a friend of mine who's in the lawn care business, and he bought, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but he bought a piece of machinery that I think he is the only lawn care company in the entire Southeast that has one, at least in Alabama. As far as I know, the only other person in Alabama that has one, only an entity, is our local power company. And so he bought this machinery. It cuts grass, but it's a very expensive one. But he told me what he was getting paid on some of these jobs, and it's incredible. So I'm not saying go buy just the most outrageous thing you can, but even me starting doing weed control, think about how many less weed control companies there are versus mowing companies. I'm not telling you don't mow grass. You can obviously mow grass. Even if you're mowing grass, you might differentiate yourself in just how great you are. But if you can start doing stuff that other people can't offer, for instance, I'm hoping soon to be able to get a Z spray. If you're familiar with weed control and fertilization, Z sprays makes big ride-on spreader sprayers, and it's a larger one. Well, that would set me up great to be able to do like football fields or sports turf or even just large properties, because with that piece of machinery, I'm going to be able to handle properties of the size that I honestly wouldn't want to handle with my current setup. So things like that. I mean, it's thinking mowing grass. I mean, if you had like a couple 60-inch mowers, and again, don't just do that to go for one property, but that allows you to tackle some big properties. And maybe now you can go after an apartment complex that's going to pay you several $1,000s a month year round, or a big church or some big commercial properties, versus just going out there and mowing another yard for $50. So differentiate yourself. That may look different for different people, but to me, that would be important. And then the fifth tip I was going to mention in this video is to keep control of your business. And I can give a lot of examples for that. The one I keep thinking back to is this was years ago. This lady used to leave a note, handwritten note, on her door every time we'd go to mow her grass. And she was an older lady, and she had a tree that would drop little twigs, and we would get out there and hand pick up these little twigs, stuff we didn't do for other people, bagging her grass, and almost every week we showed up, there'd be a handwritten note, a page long, with all the stuff we didn't do right the week before and we needed to do better. Well, guess what? She ended up firing us, and it was like that was my mistake. I had like on a 12-month contract where basically it was more in favor of her during the summer months and swung back to my favor in the winter months. Well, she fired me in the fall after the grass stopped needing cut. So she basically took advantage of me in that way. And we literally it would just ruin the morale of our crew. I had people working with me at the time. When you go there and you're spending more time, so it's less profitable, and just complaining, and I just hearing her complain, it really just takes away the momentum of the day. And so I think, people like that, they want to take control of the way you run your business. And again, this kind of goes with the first one. If they're not a fit, get your money and get out of there as fast as you can. And so I'm big. It probably should be number one rule, but you keep control of your business. You say, hey, we mow weekly, and we come to this neighborhood on Thursdays. Well, hey, would you do bi-weekly on Wednesday? No. And now say it nice. Everything say nice. But in your mind, just have almost no give on this stuff, because I did a video this year earlier, and I thought it was great. I don't think it got that many views, but it was basically that pricing was overrated, and that the more important than pricing was efficiency. I still believe that. Now, I believe pricing is important. Go up on your price, whatever. Can't screw your pricing up. But efficiency to me, like, how in the world are you going to run a lawn business and not be efficient unless you're out there doing some landscaping jobs that are $100,000 and you charging so much you can just goof around. But for those of us doing weed control and mowing, to me, like, you got to be efficient. So I want them all in the same neighborhood. I'm looking, even me doing weed control, I used to drive to the same neighborhood 4 or 5 times to spray yards. I would go and spray some yards, and then so-and-so hadn't paid me, so I'd message them. Well, they'd pay a week later, and I'd drive back, spray them, and so-and-so was on a little bit different program because they had a different kind of grass. I'd go back and spray it. Now it's like, man, I go to that neighborhood, we're spraying everybody's yard that day. I mean, you get now. I mean, there may be an occasional exception, but what is done, one is just take so much stress off me having to figure out, like, did I get everybody in that neighborhood? I'm going down the list and I'm hitting these yards in the same order a lot of times. I went to the neighborhood today and I'm like, yep, this is the one I do first. This is the one I do second. Pretty much the same order every time. And you just knock them out. And the other great thing about that is, from a weed control perspective, we put those yard signs up. Well, if I go into a neighborhood and I've got 18 yards in that neighborhood, what are the neighbors seeing? They're seeing 18 yard signs, and they know that I showed up that day. And they're thinking, you know what? All those yards look great. And I've been kind of unhappy with my guy. So who are they going to call when it's time to switch over? They're going to give the guy that they see it. They had 18 advertisements in the neighborhood. There's one of my competitors who does a great job. And I'm telling you, he's got so many yards in some of these streets where he's just taking over. You talk about route density. It's embarrassing sometimes. I'm thinking, dang, he's got a lot of yards. He'll have 20 out of 25 yards on one street sometimes. It's just crazy. And I go in there and do 1 or 2 yards. I'm like, man, somebody had to break up the monopoly on this street. He's taking over the world. All right. Bowman's Homestead says, hit the like button. Yeah, y'all are welcome to do that. Thank you. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Do you swing your arms side to side while spraying yards? Yeah, it's more of a wrist than arm, but yes. And I think I used to move my wrist, arm, whatever, faster. But I've kind of slowed down a little bit and realized I'm getting good coverage. I'm more relaxed than I used to. And I'll tell you, when I'm spraying yards, I've learned some tricks and techniques to it. So, like, for instance, I'd spray, basically spray in a straight line, and I'd spray all the way to the end till it got to the driveway or whatever. Then I'd walk out on the driveway, move over, get straightened back up, and start spraying again. Now I don't even walk to the end to the drive. I'm spraying out in front of me till I get to the driveway. Then I'll go ahead and spray a little bit on the next pass and turn around. I'm just saving myself steps. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just, the object is good coverage on the lawn, and my other object is to do it with as few steps as possible. And I think I've figured out how to do that. We just lost a customer because of the little twigs. We get a message about them every week. They had a big limb fall and didn't get it till the next day, so they fired us. We're so happy. Yeah, I understand, because, like I said, when you finally get fired, the only thing I'm mad about is, like, I didn't fire that lady before she fired me. That's what I was mad about. But when you do lose a customer who's a pain, it's like a celebration. I remember a video I did about 7 years ago where I took a water bottle and I dumped it on my head and was like celebrating like we'd won the Super Bowl or something. But it was something about losing a customer. I don't even remember who it was at that time. But it really is. It's worth celebrating, because the lawn business is hard enough just dealing with the heat and equipment and weeds and all the stuff we deal with without having to deal with drama from the customers. And I was telling somebody yesterday when I was talking about that, I was like, you know what? Probably 95% of my customers are great. 4% of them are good. And it's like 1% are like, take them or leave them. It's really less than, it's right, less than 1% that just really give me fits. But overall, my customers are great, but I'm still striving for 100% greatness out of my customers. I had a friend. I don't think he was halfway joking, so I don't think you have to be like this. But he's like, man, if I have a customer even call me, I'm canceling them. He's like, they better. He's like, yeah, I don't even care if it's a compliment. He's like, they better text me a compliment because if they so much as dial my number, they're gone. I'm their office, But yeah, he was, I think, joking to some degree, but he was basically getting to the point like, I don't get time to be talking to customers all the time. We're gonna do a great job if you don't like it. Again, I think you should talk to customers and try to be pleasant with them, but it's the regular complaining that can be a struggle. What do you do about ant mounds? I've got a couple of products I use. One's Top Choice. It's like an annual application I typically put out about March or so. Supposed to give you 12 months control. And it is a great product. And I'm not saying you'll never have another ant if you see it, but so you sort of put it over the whole yard. Now you have to be licensed for that. The other product I use, you can get this off Amazon. It's called Advion. It's a fire ant bait. Comes in a 2-pound jug. Advion, Advion, and that's a bait. And so when I was using that, it's really not that expensive, like 40 something bucks maybe for a 2-pound jug. I think that covers like 2 acres. Well, if you're just doing your own yard, I mean, I'm probably not going to put all over the whole yard. I might just kind of sprinkle it randomly. But so anyway, you can make that go a long way. And I typically do that about twice a year, maybe April and again in August or so. Because the ants get, at least where I'm at, they start getting going crazy again in the fall, like August, September, August till summer. I realize that. But they been seeing a lot of ants lately. How much PSI do you keep your sprayer pressure? I don't really know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I know how much volume I'm spraying through, per 1,000 square feet and all that. Hot knife through butter, baby. I'm not sure what that references, but maybe customers not sure. Thanks for the weed whacker tips. I think that's supposed to say. No problem. Some more popular videos are teaching people how to edge with a weed eater and stuff like that. Celebrating double dragon. Yep. We do celebrate sometimes when you lose a customer. Do you have any Indian Hindu customers? How do you deal with them? Well, we don't want to say anything negative about other cultures, but I've actually lived in other countries for periods of time, and it's difficult being on the other side of the coin when you're the minority and the culture is not the way that you think it should be. So I've had, but yeah, there are particular cultures that really like to negotiate. They think everything is negotiable. And again, think about their culture. I mean, if you grew up going to a market and everybody's trying to talk everybody down over a pound of green beans or something, then you just think that's how everything works, no matter what country. Well, it doesn't always work that way in the U.S. and some other countries. But I try to be patient. I think you be patient and understanding that that's the culture they come from, but also I think you hold your ground best you can. You just like, listen, this is the way it's going to be. Can you tell me the 5 tips? Yeah, I've got probably 10 more minutes, and I'm going to have to get off here. But let me run over them again. You guys hit me with some more questions, and we'll take questions for another 10 minutes or so. So run through it real quick. One, if you find a customer is not a fit for you, get your money and separate as quickly as possible, because don't be thinking that you're going to somehow change that customer into being a great fit. I mean, best case scenario, I've seen sometimes where I have had to like stand my ground and say, listen, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to have you complain every single time I come out. If you want to switch to somebody else, that's perfectly fine. Or if you want to stay with me, that's fine. We're just going to have to and they will actually stop complaining and turn into a good customer. So occasionally you can reform them, but most of the time you can't. So if you can get your money and get out of there, that's a good idea. Tip number 2 was let your numbers control your pricing. Don't let your competitors control. Obviously, you can't just say, I want to drive a Lamborghini, so I need to charge $100 for 5 minutes worth of work. But you can't just make stuff up. I'm not saying you can't have some pulse on the market, but ultimately you may be able to charge more or less than somebody else because of the way your business is structured. You may need to charge more to be profitable. You may can charge less and still be more profitable. The third topic we talked about in tip is kind of this work-life balance. the tip is just figure that out. Figure out how you can't get swamped in your work. And to me, that's very challenging to balance it out, and even seasonally balance out. Usually, I'm going to work like crazy during the summer, and the winter I'm going to sit around and do nothing. I don't personally think that's great either. The fourth was differentiate yourself. So I talked about a friend who bought a big fancy piece of equipment, and it's allowed him to separate himself and get a lot of new high paying jobs that other people just don't have the manpower or the equipment to handle. Just like me doing weed control, that's not separating myself crazy, but a lot of people can't do weed control because I'm licensed in that and they're not, and I have the knowledge and things. So I think even that is separating yourself to some degree. And then the last one, and it's again maybe the most important, is keep control of your business. Don't let the customers dictate your schedule, dictate. You yes, provide outstanding customer service, but you can't run around doing what everybody wants. You say, hey, we come to this neighborhood on Wednesdays and we mow it every week. And basically they have to take it or leave it. Say it in a really nice way, though. All right, this guy says, how long before rain can you put down pre-emergent? I live in North Mississippi and haven't had one good rain past 2 months, none in the forecast. Yeah, we're very dry here, and even the hurricane that's coming through is not looking like it's going to bring much rain my way. I'm near Birmingham, Alabama. It's more headed along the East Coast. I don't know exactly scientifically, and you have to check the label. But as far as putting it down before, I think you can put it down 5 minutes before it rains and it's fine. So if you want to put it down at your house and then just water it in, that's fine. Now, for us, we're often mixing post-emergence in with the pre-emergence. And so sometimes the post-emergent might need a couple of hours. But yeah, if it rains the later that afternoon, that's fine. I would think a bigger concern would be that, hey, you put down the pre-emergent. How long before it rained can you put? Okay, maybe I'm getting it backwards. So like you spray the pre-emergent. I'm getting your question backwards. How long can it be before it gets watered in? You got to check the label on that. I think, and it may differ on the products, but I'm encouraging my customers to water. Like, hey, we're spraying pre-emergent. Please water, not just water for the pre-emergent, but also water for the health of the grass. Because the grass is really stressed out and brown, and that's not really good to go into winter with a stressed out lawn. It's going to make the grass more susceptible to winter damage and possibly affect how it looks the fall and spring. So, I don't know what, a week or two, I would say if it hasn't rained in a week or two, please water it. But I'm encouraging people to water for the water and the pre-emergent, also just for the health of the lawn. Jason, down here in Florida, mid cone of Ian inland, and the fungus among us is about to be off the chart after the SOP passes. All right. Well, hopefully you guys, I'm sure it's a little bit scary and tons of rain. So hopefully, if the fungus is the worst thing you have to deal with, then I think that would be good. But yeah, I don't know. There's no telling what it'll do as far as to the lawns go, but plenty of water, I'm assuming. But I haven't. I've been obviously following the storm, but I haven't seen the latest updates of what kind of damage has happened. Did you start from mowing only, then to expand? When did you start? Yeah, I started my first lawn business in 2007, I think, maybe more so 2008. But and I was mowing for a while, and then this is my third lawn business. So when I moved this last time, which was like 8 years ago or something, I started doing more spraying then, and then eventually just dropped mowing altogether. It says, thank you, no problem. What would you use to take charge of Creeping Charlie? I think that's supposed to be oxalis, maybe. Oxalis is spelled Oxalis, oxalis, Creeping Charlie. And oxalis can also be yellow wood sorrel. So I'm assuming that's what you meant, unless that's some other weed I'm not familiar with. And crabgrass in late season with overseed and fresh germination. I'm in Washington State. Well, I don't know we don't have cool season grasses in my area, so I'm not as familiar with the products that you're going to need to use. I use Change Up is a product that we use, and it is labeled for some cool season grasses, but it works great on Creeping Charlie. It works great on oxalis. Crabgrass, if you're in Washington State, I'm assuming it's going to die out real soon just from cold weather. So I would just let that die off, and then next year you could put down some prodiamine before it germinates, maybe in March or so where you're at, or whenever the snow melts, if you have snow, and that would keep most of the crabgrass out next year. Appreciate it, man. Just northeast of Orlando, 16 inches forecast. Should be fun. Has it? So Jacob, is it raining now, I'm assuming, or is it already? Where's the storm at in relation to you? If you still got internet, I'm assuming, or phone service or something. So, what mowers you on? I just have a Toro 60-inch right now, and I do have a push mower I got from Milwaukee. The battery push mower is pretty cool. But I got a 60-inch Toro. It's like the 2000 series. I hear my family coming in, so I'm about to have to hop off here. Jason, what do you think about humic acid? I'm no expert on those, but I think some of those micronutrients, my understanding, like humic acid, are very good for the soil. And what they allow my understanding is they allow the plant to be able to utilize the macronutrients. So let's say you're putting nitrogen in the yard, and the humic acid may help the plant be able to use the micronutrients, help it utilize the macronutrients, if you will. So definitely beneficial to the soil. I think the lime we put out in the winter has humic acid in the bag as well. What are your thoughts on preen and mulch builds? Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much, they do help. Like where I live, we got Bermuda grass and zoysia and all that running in the bed. So preen, I haven't used preen, but we use like Snapshot or Freehand, same kind of concept, and they'll help. They're not going to keep the grasses from running in there, but they will help with. They'll help with some of the weeds, or pretty much. You typically still have to go in there with like some kind of Roundup or something and spray the existing weeds. Elvin said, I noticed in some of your recent videos you use 2,4-D as post-emergent fall, where I've seen you use Trimake in the past. Or a reason for the change? I don't. I saw your comment the other day. I apologize if I didn't reply, but I don't remember using Trimake except occasionally on a centipede or St. Augustine lawn. But I typically don't even do that. I'm typically using on my Bermuda zoysias. I use 2,4-D in the fall with Simazine and Spectacle. And if you don't want to use Spectacle, you use prodiamine. And then on the centipede St. Augustine, I just leave the 2,4-D out. But you could use like a Trimex Southern or something like that that's labeled for centipede and St. Augustine if you want to get a little bit more post-emergent weed control. So anyway, I may be forgetting. I may have said I use Trimex. I don't know. I know on my shelf I got a lot of 2,4-D and not very much Trimex, so I don't use it very often. But yeah, it is more expensive, I'm pretty sure. We are out of commission until Saturday. What would you suggest for supplemental income for employees in despair with natural disasters? Man. Out of commission, say what would we suggest for supplemental income for employees in despair with natural disasters? I honestly don't have a good answer for that. And that's one of the things. I'm sorry, maybe somebody else will, but it's just it's tough. I mean, that's part of small business that I find it very difficult. And I work by myself at the moment, because when you have employees, it's like there's a sense where you feel very responsible for them, those employees, and how can I, how can I take care of them if they got hurt or something? Hopefully, you got some sort of insurance that can cover things like that, or workman's comp and those kind of things. But as far as this situation, it's just till Saturday, and in the situation here with hurricanes and all that, maybe, even if you have to pay them for doing nothing, you might make an exception, and maybe they make up for it working an extra day next week or something. But I wish I had a better answer. I apologize. Yes, wood sorrel is what I was meaning, and the side of the state is mainly a warm climate with a few wet months. Okay. Also, do you have a comment on hydrotane? No, I'm not familiar with hydrotane. I'm sorry. But yeah, the wood sorrel, yellow wood sorrel, like I said, change up is what I use on that. It works great. It is labeled for some cool season grasses. But I imagine there is another product that's going to be that would knock it out. That is for cool season grasses. If you have a different one, I'm just not nearly as familiar with the cool season grasses. I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. I really appreciate the comments. Oh, hold on, here we go. Let's see. Hello is what he said. Natural disasters. What about cleanup jobs? Yeah, I mean that's true. There may be a lot of cleanup jobs coming up your way for those that are equipped to do that. But anyway, we're hoping for nothing crazy by way of damage. Sometimes in Alabama where I live, we get some of those hurricanes move up through here, and I'm well off the coast, so it's usually nothing terrible, but we're more likely to get hurricanes in the fall. Tornadoes in the fall. Jason, you are invited to the carne asada and family gatherings. All right, that's great. 100%. We'll be rolling into that immediately after storm. That's good. Hello from Pennsylvania. I'm a lifelong Phillies fan, and they need a win tonight. I'm sick of them losing. All right, for employees, maybe a gift card to Sam's just to see them through. That's a good idea. Thank you for that comment. Please help me with wild violet. Well, again, that depending on if you got warm season grass or cold season grasses, I use solitaire. So any product has quinclorac, which is often seen as a crabgrass post-emergent. Quinclorac also is good on wild violet. So check to see if quinclorac is labeled for you. You can buy a generic quinclorac on Amazon or something. I'm trying to think if it's like for cool season grasses, it's like Sure Power or Cool Power. One of those is good on wild violet. I can't remember which one. I think it's Sure Power. You can look that up. Cowboys fan here. Yeah, we like Alabama. We don't follow the NFL too closely here in Alabama, but I do like baseball. Appreciate you guys being with me. If you haven't read, if you want to go to the GIE Expo, calling this Equip Expo. Okay, you can still register. It's $40 now with the $20 thing ended September 9th. But it's $40 now, but you can still get half off. My code is Lawn Care Life. That's all one word, Lawn Care Life. That's in Louisville, Kentucky, August 19th through 21st, I think. I'm planning on being there. I think Thursday I'm going to be in the Xmark booth at 10 o'clock. I'm excited about that. They're giving me some T-shirts to give away. I'm giving away a spiker spreader. Spiker's giving away a spiker spreader on Thursday at 1 o'clock. I'm supposed to draw the winner for that. So excited to be doing that. But if you want to go, like I said, it's $40, but you use Lawn Care Life, you can get half off. So $20 to go. And would love to see some of you in person. Lawn Care Life is all one word, so just use that as your promo code. Also, I'm trying to think through I love to hear from you guys if you want to message me somehow. Like, I'm trying to, as far as what I do on my website, lawncarelife.com, redoing the website, trying to think of some good things to offer people. Of course, I make money doing that, but I'm thinking about selling like a pricing chart for weed control is one of the things. I'm thinking about I have that, but I want to update it. And I'm thinking about maybe some type of mentorship program again that might last maybe for a year, but we may meet 7 times or something like that, a month, and like monthly mentorship or something. So I'm trying to think of that, or one-on-one coaching. Just, if you have any ideas of what would be valuable, what you would like help with, then I'd love to hear from you in that. Hey, Jason, love what you do. Thank you much. I was wondering what you'd recommend for bindweed in the lawn. I don't have that weed here. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with that one. You got this. I'm wondering, is that supposed to be like an emoji that didn't come through? Anyway, appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys in another video, hopefully. Talk to you later.